Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, how was everybody's Thanksgiving?
Oh, man.
Did we survive?
Yeah.
Did anybody die of food poisoning?
Yeah. Can I just say that in true Thanksgiving fashion, there was some heated discussions at the dinner table.
Was it over politics?
And it wasn't. I mean, politics adjacent. There were a lot of world happenings right now.
Okay.
Again, no one was really ostracized. No one was ever. I don't think anyone got their feelings hurt. But I did.
Also,
comment.
they don't
That's
listen
good.
to the podcast.
No, I think they do. But I just thought it was funny that again I had even said that to the group. I was like, let me go ahead and make this comment here while we're all just in this moment. I was like, what is it about the Thanksgiving dinner table that really brings out the hot button topics?
Right.
Because what else are you supposed to talk about?
I mean,
That's right.
yeah. So anyways, I thought that was funny. All the food was great. All the things that I had planned, the hosted events that I had, everything went smoothly. There's a few things I want to do differently, in the future. But this is just nitpicky stuff. I was super happy with how it turned out.
Well, Hottie Doctor and I had an opportunity.
Okay.
And Magnus went to his dad's Wednesday night before. So we actually had Thanksgiving and the weekend to ourselves.
Ooh, fancy.
And we were sitting there. It was raining, obviously.
It was, yeah.
It was just pouring down raining.
It was.
And so we actually, I hate to say it, Netflix and chill. We threw the Netflix
Love
on,
it.
and we found this awesome series. It's called Ancient Apocalypse. Now, we might remember the name of the guy, journalist Graham Hathcock, has written a couple of books. That's what I said. Did I say Hathcock or Hancock?
You said Hathcock.
Oh, Hathcock, because of the old sniper days. It's just, I guess, inbred in my memory.
Close enough.
Hancock. And some of his books have been now made into a Netflix series.
Wow.
And I want y'all to start watching it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you, Jason, even kind of talked to me about that.
He's probably already started. But if you don't have Netflix, we need to figure this out.
I do have Netflix.
Because just the subject matter is very, very intriguing to see some of his books. Because I've ordered, after watching a couple of the first series, I've ordered a couple of his books. I just got on Amazon and said, here we go.
I think I've read audio. I've done Magician of the Gods. I've read Magician of Gods and Fingerprint of Gods. Fingerprint of the Gods was I think that was the first one. Magician is an update to Fingerprint.
Okay.
Now, he has written other books.
Wasn't there Messenger of the Gods?
There's others. Like I'm right now, I've got, matter of fact, I have an audio book of his called Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's about basically some of the similar topics that basically a lot of these stuff is underwater now.
Right.
Because sea level has risen about 400 feet from about 12,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just wondering, maybe, and if you'd like to start kind of watching it, and maybe if we could find some common ground on it, maybe have a couple of episodes on it, because it's really intriguing, some of the things that he brings to light. Some of it, I think, is very valuable. Some of it may be a little reach, but sometimes you got to reach.
Right.
And we really enjoyed it. It's both right up Hottie Doctor, Miranda, and I's alley.
That's cool.
I know it's up Jason's alley.
That's all about, I'm all in that.
I actually think if you watched it, it may intrigue you enough to kind of get you inspired. Maybe we could do a couple of good shows on it.
Okay.
Just throw that out there.
What is it called again?
Ancient
Apocalypse.
Ancient Apocalypse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 8 parts.
I think so. I think we got through 3 or 4 of them, and we're like, oh, we can't wait.
Oh,
We're
it
gonna
will
finish them.
get you hooked.
Yes.
Okay.
It will get you hooked. It makes you kind of think. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because a part of you is always kind of thinking there's something missing in our history.
Right.
And he really does a great job of connecting various disciplines together in a very easy way to understand.
And he has a really big fan, Joe Rogan, a podcaster, obviously.
Wow, yeah.
I think he's involved in this. He's part of the show. He does some talking and asks the guy questions in the show.
Wow.
But I believe, did he not have something to do with the financing in it too?
Yeah, I think he actually bankrolled it, if I'm not mistaken. I read something.
Of all the people that could probably do it.
I know, right?
I think Joe was really he was a very serious contributor of getting that episode on Netflix. Now Graham Hancock really, when he appeared on the Joe Rogan show, it was like a 3-hour
Oh gosh.
episode, and I'm gonna tell you, I was riveted to it.
Okay.
It was an absolute fabulous podcast, and the things that they talk about is just shocking. It blew my mind. It really changed, personally, it has changed the way I really think of our history.
Wow.
And because I do believe there's a lot of things that the established scientists, that the picture they want to paint, I think sometimes they get locked in their own ideas.
Oh, I agree.
And science, by its very nature, has to constantly be searching.
Mm-hmm.
And what they have done to Graham Hancock and him bringing these topics up is just outright shocking, of the just outright anger and dismissal of basically everything he has said,
Well,
without even exploring it.
Right. I grew up with Chariots of the Gods, Eric von Däniken, and he kind of, I don't want to say he started this, but he's really the first massive published author that wanted to talk about these things. The Gods Never Left Us was his second book, and then, Chariots of the Gods was his first one. And I grew up on that, and I've brought it up a couple of times on the podcast, but now to hear Graham Hancock, it's intriguing. I would love for us to just kind of prepare, maybe watch a couple episodes, read a couple books, and see if we could go maybe 1 or 2 episodes here and there and talk about that.
Sounds good to me.
You're good?
I'm good.
Will you watch a couple episodes
I will,
and just see?
If it's on Netflix, yeah. 100%.
Yes, it is.
Love it.
Yes, awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
So what are we going to talk about today?
What are we going to talk about today?
I mean, obviously that definitely feels like a big topic right there. I can already tell just from Jason's having some, it's like,
he's this is up his alley. But
right.
I think we need some preparation.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Let's prepare for that one. But
I feel like I'm the odd man out here. I haven't seen anything about it. You told me to kind of look into them, and I think I've looked into some stuff. But
I would just, I would recommend do the audiobook, because it's easier, just plug something while you're working and listen to it, and just.
But I think for first impression, just go watch that series.
Watch the series, because it's. Okay. I forget how long each episode is. It's 40 minutes long or something like that.
Well, it was raining, and we didn't care how long it was.
It's good stuff. I mean, I think you would enjoy it.
Okay.
In one of the previous podcasts that we had, we all talked about gaming, and I thought it might be kind of fun, here before the holidays, when we all have a little bit of extra time on our hands, do some days off and stuff. Are you going to be gaming? What's your game? What do you like about gaming?
And you get to go into just another world.
You want to talk about another big pill to swallow here? That's a big conversation. That's great though.
I remember the first computer I ever bought was in, I think, 1985. Wow. And it was because I saw a friend of mine had Castle Wolfenstein.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Now, it wasn't first-person shooter like this.
Yeah.
You hit forward, turn left, forward, turn left. And you just step by step, and then it was insane.
I forget what the technology is, whether it's 2D or isometric type game, whatever it's called.
But when you saw this, you were automatically hooked.
That's so cool.
And then I moved on. My little brother got out of the Navy, and we played a couple of text-based games. I think I mentioned that before. And that's kind of how we knew where each other was. But he moved in with Mom. And that lasted for about a year. Here it is, this old Navy guy trying to live with Mom, and that's just not cutting it. So he said, hey, man, can I move in with you? And I had a 3-bedroom house. So he moved into 1 bedroom. I had the office in the other. And he said, I see you got a computer. He said, do you play any games? And I said, no, really, it's for work. And he says, well, I'm going to hook you up to a game. And it was Counter-Strike. It was the original Counter-Strike. So we put both desks face to face,
right?
So he couldn't look on my screen and take advantage of me. And we didn't even have internet.
Wow!
And he would kill me like 100 to nothing, 100 to nothing, because that's all he did on his ship. They were wired for games.
Yeah.
And when they weren't working, they were gaming.
Right.
And so I started getting a little bit better and started getting a little bit better. And then I remember one day we just looked at each other and said, we need the internet.
Yeah.
And so we got an internet. The guy installed it on a Friday. I don't think we showered, ate, slept, or anything till Sunday. We just sat there and binged gamed on the internet. But Counter-Strike was my first game that I really, really enjoyed and got good at.
What's the longest you've sat and gamed?
That day or that weekend.
Yeah. And literally you just went all night?
Yeah, literally all night.
That's crazy.
Now, people have done that and died.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
So we would never do that again, but
no.
I would say probably 6 to 10 hours.
That's crazy.
On the off chance, but that's not the norm. But we were also in Cal, Cyber Athletes League. Yeah. So we were in serious tournament and league play.
I have a friend of mine that's currently trying to win $50,000 in some sort of league right now. Mm-hmm. He's I can't get in touch with him anymore. He's so focused on his thing.
You said 50,000?
Yeah. I think it was for him, but I think the bigger prize is something like, a couple million or whatever, but for his stake in the game or whatever, I forgot what it is. So
that's absolutely amazing to win that kind of money playing.
Potentially, yeah. It's like, the idea that he could win that kind of much, like that's crazy.
So what's your game of choice, Ian?
Right now, because of work and stuff, I actually haven't played like at all, really.
Now, was that before or after you got engaged?
A little bit of both. Like ever since the pandemic and work and the podcasts and then Mallory coming into my life all at the same time, like there has been some downtime and I've played things here and there. I like more open world kind of sandboxy games in a way. So like there was a point in time where like Minecraft was like a really big thing for me. I loved playing it. It was super cool because I had friends that were also like into it. There's a game called Valheim. It's like a Viking kind of building sandbox game. It's a lot of fun as well, and I enjoy it. But if I can kind of tell you the same thing for me, is I was coming up in an era where World of Warcraft was the thing.
That was a big thing.
It was a very big thing whenever I was in high school, or kind of in middle school, really. But I didn't have a computer at that time. I got my first computer. I built my first computer from the ground up in like 2010 or something like that. And I had a friend of mine and his older brother and a group of his older brother's friends, and they all played this game called Lord of the Rings Online. Mm-hmm. And it was basically World of Warcraft, but for Lord of the Rings. Online game, MMORPG, and you had to pay subscriptions like per month. And of course, I didn't have a job at that time. I was like just getting into high school. So I mean, I had like odd jobs where I made, couple $100 here and there, I'd paint and do drywall stuff, and I'd help my uncle out doing, construction stuff. We would put in doors for houses or fix sinks and toilets and stuff. It was all that kind of stuff. So I would make money where I could, but like I didn't have enough money to pay for a subscription service. But my friend had like referral codes, and for like one summer, he gave me like 2 months worth of membership.
Oh,
and
wow.
He was like, he told me, he's like, I'll give this to you. And he's like, just hop in our kin was what it was called. It was like a clan. What do you want to call it? So hop in our group. And we can do some runs. We can get you all leveled up. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. That's fine. Let's do it. And man, I got hooked. It's like the summer of 2010. I was in it. Or I think it was a little bit earlier than that. Regardless, I just started playing that game. I'd come home from school, do some homework, clean myself up, and then would hop on, and then would just like play for hours,
right?
And up until the wee hours of the morning.
What's the longest you ever played?
Whenever I would have like days off on the weekend, almost an entire day. I wouldn't say like a full 24 hours, but like as long as there was sunlight out, I had like hopped on and did, I had grinded for things. I did raids. I did, all that kind of stuff. The whole 9 yards. I was really invested for like a handful of years in that game afterwards, and a lot of memories. I made a lot of friends from around the world, just doing these things, because there was, whenever you were in a group with somebody, they had like voice chat where you could like kind of like walkie-talkie with them basically. And so I had like a little cheap headset with a microphone and would communicate with them, and it was a lot of fun. I personally, I know this is going to sound really probably cringy to some people, but like I learned a lot about myself with those like like in a team structure.
Sure.
I learned a lot about myself and how I operate in a team of people through that game specifically. Because either I was like the tank, so I was like either the guy at the front lines, like really taking on all this stuff, or I was the support healer. I was helping everybody else out. It was either one of the two. I didn't really like to be the guy who just did all the big numbers. I was like, you guys do all that. I'll just help out wherever I can. And as I started like playing more and getting like more into that kind of stuff, I started to realize like I started to like kind of grow socially in a certain way, but then also like in a workplace where I fit in, which is kind of weird to say. But like as I started playing more, I started realizing like in a team structure, like we had strategies, we had things we had to do. There was certain things you had to keep in mind. And if you screwed up or if anybody misstepped, we had to start all over again. So it was like all these things were like working under pressure really quickly was like
sounds kind of stressful too.
Yeah, well, a little bit because I wouldn't, especially if I was the healer. It's like if you don't keep me going, we can't make this happen. And I was like, okay, a lot of pressure's on me right now.
Well, I'm going to throw this to Jason next, but I want you to remember after what you just said, who is hiring gamers right now? The military. Who you think's flying these drones? Who you think's the next level jets are going to be and the next level tanks?
Microsoft Simulator.
Right. This is
who's going to. The new Microsoft Simulator is phenomenal. Anyways, side note.
They did a study on gamers versus non-gamers. And you've seen, okay, if you're on a plane and the pilot has a heart attack, who can land the plane? This is like a 747, and they use simulators on it, and then you have a pilot who talks to you via the headphones. And they said that less than 36% of the non-gamers could actually land the plane safely. But they said over 70% to 75% of the gamers could actually truly land the 747.
That's crazy.
So they're prepared for all the hand controls and things like that. So what's your game, buddy? Jason, what do you like to play?
Well, my favorite probably is, I would have to say Fallout.
Oh, I love that series.
I mean, I'm just right now, I've been a Fallout fan for years. I love the world of Fallout. I kind of love that 1950s, the way they viewed what the future would be like in 1950, 1955. And so everything like with China.
I think they call that retro future.
Retro, yeah.
Yeah. It's the 50s look on what the future is supposed to look like.
It just resonated with me. I have fallen in love with that game. And I still play. I mean, I put Fallout 76, Fallout 4. I loved Fallout 3. Unfortunately, I can't even play Fallout 3 anymore because I upgraded my computer and it doesn't allow. I think Fallout 3 was a single core game, and now they went to multi-core, and it's.
Speaking of Fallout or falling out, didn't you tell us you had a marathon Thanksgiving? Did you do it or did you fall out?
No, actually I did. I actually came in second in my age group.
Oh wow! Well done, you.
So I think I think there was like close to 1,400 runners. I think overall I was around like 119.
Okay. Nice. Wow. Well done, you.
So within
I guess picking on him about Fallout just got blown up in my face, huh?
The top 10%.
That's awesome.
Top 10%. I think I ran it in like 23 minutes and some seconds. So.
Love it.
Wow.
So sounds awesome.
I felt good. I didn't know I was going to get out there that morning and just kind of see how I felt, and took off running. I said, "Oh, I feel pretty good."
It was raining, wasn't it?
No, not that morning.
It hadn't started raining yet. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It started around. I think it was after 12 o'clock.
Okay. When
the rain started, because the race was at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Well, at least you dodged that. That's good.
So I ate. I ran it and I had to leave there and go pick up the fried turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
And get over to the parents' house. And
what a morning.
Yeah. So, but I have another race coming up this coming Saturday. Actually, I'll be doing the Tiger 10K.
Okay.
That's a 6.2 mile race.
Wow. Wonderful.
All right. So what's the longest you've sat and gained?
I'm trying to think because I played a lot during my first bout of COVID, and I'm sitting at home.
Oh yeah, everyone's at home at that point.
I mean, it's like, I mean, I would play, get up, go back, play, get up. I would play a long time. I would probably say 6 hours.
Okay,
it's probably the longest I've ever really sat in one, and I just can't. That's about as far as I can push it.
Right.
My head starts hurting after a while, and I'm just like, okay, I got to get up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that 1 to 3 hour.
Oh yeah, sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot for me. And but I mean, you talk about games, Fallout. I love I wish some of these games that they don't make anymore, like Fear.
Yeah.
Fear was a great game. I mean, I love first person shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very partial, like Far Cry.
Yeah.
Great game. Mass Effect.
Mass Effect's really good.
Was just it just blew my mind. I love
BioWare knows how to make an RPG. They got it on lockdown.
Yes, but my favorite that I groomed
Stoney,
on
what
gaming.
Did you like? What do you like?
Diablo 1.
Oh my God,
Diablo 2.
Yeah.
That started it all. Just like Counter-Strike started it, Blizzard and Diablo started it. I just remember, even on Diablo 2, we made money rushing people.
Oh, I believe it.
They would turn their accounts over to us, and we had a group of 3 or 4 people, and we would rush them. And if you spent more money, we wouldn't use up any of the attributes for you. We would give it to you level 75 with all the attributes for you to spend, and you'd give us money. And it was just so much fun.
There was an old game. It used to be web-based game from the UK called RuneScape, and that was a game that came out like in the early 2000s. I think it's like late 90s, early 2000s. But like the rendition of it that like my brother and I played, which is now called Old School RuneScape. It's like an RPG-based game. It's kind of I forgot. It's like a point and click kind of game. I forgot what they call it. It's like an idle game. Like it really kind of just like does itself, but like you manage things on it or whatever.
Turn-based?
So what kind of genre type of game do you more? I mean, you like the science fiction type or the fantasy types? I mean, what's kind of where do you?
For me, like I love both of those, science fiction, fantasy, all that kind of stuff. For me, I've noticed like I like more online based games. I like playing with other people. I like having that kind of stuff. More single player games. I'm not opposed to them, but like doing computer stuff, I like more in that ballpark. Whenever
I like Ian said, I like playing with people online. A lot. My brother. That's how we kept in touch. That's how we knew each other was okay. And then I've met so many friends, one of them just passed here recently, that I knew for 15 years that I never met. But if something happened in my life, bad or good, he was always right there. We had our team speak at one time. And then what's the other one?
I used Ventrilo. That was
Ventrilo in the beginning, but there's another one that everybody uses now.
Discord.
Discord's
a big one.
And he was always right there. If he was going through something, problems with his wife or his health problems, I was right there. We always knew the other one. And we could game and not talk about the game, but talk about life. Right. He was a pilot, and he would send me these amazing videos of him taking off in his Gulfstream or landing his Gulfstream. Yeah. And it was just a friendship that kind of meant a lot. And he had double lung transplant, which most people really don't recover from, but he did. He recovered so well that he was able to travel. He flew down to San Diego to see he lived in Washington State. He traveled to San Diego to see his daughter, caught COVID, and never left the hospital.
Damn.
And just one day he wasn't there. And every time I get on, I just look at Discord now, because that's what we were on, and the game that we used to play, which was Diablo 3.
Yeah.
And I just don't have the heart. It's just
hard.
I'm sorry to hear that, Stoney.
Yeah.
I really am.
Because that was
a friend is tough like that. I mean,
the game I was talking about, RuneScape, there's a market in it. Like there's like a market where you can trade like items and stuff. But it works an awful lot like a stock market. And so there was my younger brother and I really got into a rhythm of like getting good at crafting stuff, getting good at like killing monsters and getting certain things, and like really working the market to where like it was actually kind of crazy how like we would like watch certain prices when they would drop and fall and start to like, it was like really like we would start like selling shares of stuff that we have. And I'm like, and again, we're like teenagers, but like looking back on it now, I was like, I mean, we really like played the system.
Worked the system.
We really
you
worked the system where we were like really capitalizing on some things. And we're like, I mean, like I would invest money into his like processes or whatever. So I'd like throw money his way to help, like he would pay people to do certain things. We would like gather, it was like materials and stuff, and then sell it and fold over cash. It was a whole bunch of stuff where I was like, I'm looking back on it now, like what was that all about? But you know, it's fun to think about.
So it seems like both of y'all really like the multiplayer.
Yeah.
See, I've never really have gotten into.
So
I've gone there a little bit, but I've just never enjoyed it that much.
For me, now what I can say is I've never been a big fan of
co-op.
No. I am a big fan of co-op. I am not a big fan of like multiplayer against other people, like in a competitive manner.
Right.
I'm not really. I'm competitive in a team atmosphere. So doing like raids in an MMO where we're all coming together against this common enemy that has these phases, that have these triggers we have to follow, and we all have to work together as a team to do this, and we're all being competitive and up against these odds. I thrived in that kind of setting. But whenever it's like me against you and we're like, it's just how fast can we shoot each other, I just get frustrated. I'm like, it's just not.
It didn't get it to do anything for you.
That really doesn't do anything for me. If we're now if there's like a strategic element to it where we have to kind of work around some things, maybe I can see that kind of happening. But for me, if it's just we get put into an arena and just start fighting each other until, you know, it for some reason really pushes that button, like really makes me angry. And I'm like, I don't know why.
To me, it's exciting where video games are going, though, especially with virtual reality.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I could see how that's really going to. I mean, I can imagine what gaming is going to be like in the next 10 to 15
Rob,
years.
He does, like the flight simulator, he does the racing simulator, and he had this huge chair built.
Crazy.
And they actually, you do these Grand Prix races where they actually go and they laser all of the drivers actually use them to practice the turns.
Yeah.
And that's what his thing was. He loved that. And
that's crazy.
They would go laser measure all of the routes, and then you could play and get timed, and it was insane.
Just like how a flight simulator is really designed to help pilots kind of practice and learn stuff. The same thing works for those new like F1 simulators. Yep. They're like really, really cool from what I've been told.
Well, the brakes and the accelerator and the steering has things that, you know, you feel the turn, and a rock you feel it.
I bet you that would be incredible to have a setup like that.
Oh, he sent me pictures. He had an insane setup.
That's crazy.
He spent tons of money on that thing.
Well, and we've talked about this in the past. Recently, I bought the Quest 2, which was now the previous generation of Oculus headsets, and it was crazy how like 5-10 years ago you would have to have like a headset, cameras set up in a room, and then like nothing could be obstructing them, all that kind of stuff. Now, literally, I just put the headset on with the hand, like the little joysticks, whatever. I can like set up the little play area that I'm going to be in. That's all it takes. That's all it is. And I'm like, it's all in the headset. There's no cables. There's no nothing. And I was like, this is crazy how even, and I want to say even now the new version of the Quest, it's not even like fully against your head, I don't think. I want to say it's like it's not enclosed, but like you can still see. I don't know. It's crazy.
We're moving into Ready Player One.
I know. We're just slowly but surely getting there.
So we've talked a lot about the computer gaming. Is either one of y'all into the console gaming at all?
I started off. Can I tell a story?
Sure.
Once upon a time.
Hear me out.
Hear me out. Once upon a time, I want to say it was around 2000 or 2001. I went to go see my cousin in Oklahoma, and she had the original PlayStation.
Okay.
And she had Spyro the Dragon, and that was the first video game I ever played, was the original Spyro the Dragon on the PlayStation 1. And I just fell in love with it. And I told my mom so many times after that, I was like, I just want a PlayStation. That's all I want. I just want a PlayStation. And It was probably around 2002 or so, whenever the PlayStation 2 had dropped. And I didn't know about it because at that time, I mean, I was, maybe 7 or 8 years old, so I wasn't paying attention. But all I know was that the Christmas, I was like, I want a PlayStation. My mom was like, we're not going to give you a game system. It's not going to happen. And still, like, the Christmas present that still shocked me to this day was opening up on Christmas the PlayStation 2, not even knowing that it was a thing, and not even knowing that I was going to get it. I was like, oh my God. It was so cool. And I had a handful of games from that time period, and I used to play PlayStation 2 all the time. That was
Atari
like
2600
yeah.
my first.
Love it.
And God, that was such an exciting time when all that was coming out. I think that had to have been in the, 1884?
Did he just say 1884?
1984.
I know.
1984,
Yeah,
I think
like
it's
that.
like that.
1884.
I remember going to a local electronics store around here that was very popular at the time and getting it. Man, everybody was going crazy at that time.
I bet.
But I mean, it was, you think about all those games, Asteroids, Missile Command.
Oh yeah, all the big ones.
All these classic arcade games were being ported over to these new
That's crazy.
console games.
I have all those on Steam.
Because
crazy.
I think after the Atari 2600 was in television that came out.
Wow.
Right after that.
Right.
So, yeah, good stuff. I mean, it's a lot of enjoyment. But, I fell out of – I did that for a while, and then I fell out, and I didn't game for years.
I really didn't do the console. I think I did Metroid for a while, and there was one other one. And I didn't like the dynamics with the controller.
Yeah.
I like the mouse and the keyboard better, so I never really got into the console game.
So like I said, I started off on the PlayStation 2 as like I had that
joystick.
all the time. Joysticks.
The joystick, I don't like. That's the reason I don't console game. I don't like those controls. I prefer the PC game.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's this. Hear me out. I started off on the PlayStation 2, and I had I got really good at it. And I played, I played all kinds of games. The big game that I played a whole bunch was like Kingdom Hearts. It was a whole bunch. Played some Final Fantasy games. You name it. All those kind of old classic early 2000s games.
I love Final Fantasy. That's a great
But
game.
Whenever I used to have Doom. Yeah. Whenever I had a laptop that I had for like school reasons. And that was the first computer that I played Lord of the Rings Online on. And I had played some other games. That was like whenever I had a Steam account, whenever Steam was like just first kind of becoming a really big deal. And I remember like as I started playing more on this laptop, mouse, keyboard, I was like, I like this control layout a lot more. I just felt I found out I was better at it, especially because we played a game and I've dropped so many hours in this game called Planet Side 2.
Planet Side 2.
It is a like a first person shooter game. It is kind of against other people online, MMO based, but it's like a big open map. And there's like territory control stuff, and you have to just like go there and help take over territory in a certain map. And there's like challenges and things that happen. Man, I used to get in with a group of my friends, and we used to like really try and strategically like work out like taking over territory in that game with other people, like real life people on the other side of like a different faction or whatever. And man, I just remember like hopping in that game and like falling in love with the design of it and like the level layout and not being stuck behind like loading screens for anything. And I just fell in love with it. Out of all the first person shooter games, that's probably the biggest one that I loved. And I realized at that point when I was like playing with mouse and keyboard, it's like, this is it for me. This is where I would do my best work at.
What about Skyrim?
Oh man,
Anybody do Skyrim
I have
at all?
not played Skyrim.
Really?
I have not played Skyrim.
Do you like kind of like fantasy RPG kind of stuff?
You see, I'm not drawn to the fantasy. It's so funny because I played Dungeons and Dragons for years. You would think I would just drive into the I've never been able to move beyond fantasy when it came to like playing Dungeons and Dragons to playing on a video game. I've never been able to make the jump there. Just like Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, that is Skyrim.
That is Skyrim. Yeah.
It's the same I thought it was two separate games.
It's all in a series.
The first Elder Scrolls game that I played, and it is probably still one of my my most favorite games because of the music and the landscape. But again, it gets a lot of shit because it is quirky and old at this point. But it is the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which is the
I hear they're coming out with another. I think Bethesda. I read something that they were coming out with another Elder Scrolls.
They are slowly but surely. But so it's Oblivion and then it's Skyrim. It's kind of like the timeline kind of works. So I loved Oblivion, and so whenever in 2011, whenever Skyrim came out, I fell in love with it.
All right, how about this one?
I love it so much.
StarCraft.
Oh, okay.
I've played some, but not much.
Really? What about you?
I like real-time strategy games, but I never played StarCraft.
Really?
I played a little bit of StarCraft
because that's about as real-time strategy.
I know. I know. It is like the one and only.
That's one of the ones my brother got me hooked on, and I used to call it StarCraft. But I could waste some time on some StarCraft. I love that game.
I played the original Warcraft or Warcraft 3, I think is what it is. I played like those. I played StarCraft a little bit.
I didn't like Warcraft 3. I liked the earlier Warcraft. I did not like 3 at all. I don't know what it was. It just didn't have the same feel to it.
There's a game called Supreme Commander, Forge Alliance. It's a real-time strategy game, and I loved that one. It's a really fun one.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
Quake.
Yes.
I haven't played any of Quake.
Doom.
Doom.
Those are great games.
There was a Doom clone game. I forgot what it's called. It's a Star Wars game, and it's on the It was on the PlayStation 1, and I had them. I think it's called Dark Forces or Dark Force. Yeah, I think it's called Dark Forces. They have like 2 or 3 installments in it, and it is like a Doom Star Wars game.
Okay.
And I remember playing that as a kid because I had like the PlayStation 1 disc that I could play on my PlayStation 2 back when like backwards compatibility was a thing.
Yeah, they don't do that too much anymore.
I have all of them on my Steam account now. And it's a real nostalgia. A lot of the games from my childhood I have on my computer now on Steam, which is crazy to me.
I've used Steam a little bit myself because sometimes I get in the mood for the city builder.
Yeah, City Skylines.
Skylines or what's the one set in Egypt? I can't remember the name of it now, but that or Civilization.
Civ 5 is really
love Civ 5.
Civ 5's good.
Yes.
You need to play that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, we need to do
that.
What
about BioShock? Y'all play that?
I have a little bit.
Or the city, or was it Rapture?
Yeah,
that's a pretty interesting game.
My roommate Dylan likes BioShock. I haven't actually played it, but I have been told that if I like Fallout, he probably would like BioShock.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, cool. I just never really got around to it though.
Dead Space.
Oh God, please no.
Great stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, turn the lights out, and that's why I loved the game Fear.
Yeah,
and that game was just incredible. Half-Life.
Oh yeah.
How about this? Let's go here. Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead, great.
Yeah,
I love that zombie. Yeah, that's just awesome. And Left 4 Dead 2.
Left 4 Dead 2.
It all came from Half-Life. Yeah. Counter-Strike, Half-Life, all of these came from the same thing.
Right.
Global Offensive.
What company made those games?
Steam.
Steam made those?
Yep. Steam made Portal, Half-Life, all Gabe Nolan's work.
But Counter-Strike came from those games. All of this came from the original Half-Life.
They kind of created like a game engine to like make games in. They made Global Offensive, then they started making like Half-Life in that engine, and of course they just started like making other stuff.
Pharaoh. That was the name of the...
Pharaoh. Yes.
I love Pharaoh. Because it's just sitting there, and you got to build a city, and you got to think about stuff, and you got to plan your city right. And
I love it.
Yeah,
I like games like that as well.
What about you like play the war armies? What kind of? I've never played games like that, but
Risk. You can do Risk online now.
Is it? Oh, you can.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's what we're talking about. Is those are more Civilization's more of like a turn-based strategy game. The one like StarCraft is more like a real-time strategy where it's like you have like a base, you create buildings, you like amass an army, and then of course you try and conquer over a certain area. That's what at least that's what I'm talking about. And like I said, Supreme Commander is one of those where it's like humans versus like a different civilization versus aliens or whatever, and you can all like create, you know, ships and tanks and stuff, and you all like make bases and stuff and fight each other. But it's all happening in real time instead of like Civilization where it's more turn-based, where like you do your things, say in turn, and of course then the computer does their turn or the other opponent does their turn.
But sometimes if you just want some mindless stuff, that's a great way to go.
Yeah. If you want to accidentally kill 5 or 6 hours on a and just like and just really kind of like be involved in like a,
it's amazing how the hours just melt away when you play games.
Mm-hmm.
I for the longest time I didn't play, and it wasn't until I had another computer built, and some friends got me hooked. They said, "You're gonna love it," and I was like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah,
that's all I do now. Right. It's like
it
just takes you away.
It is. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. My friends at one point in time made fun of me because I'm now like scheduling fun time for my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's anytime we want to hang out, instead of like what we used to do back in high school was like, oh, just like come over whenever, it's fine, whatever. And we would all like mostly be available and all hang out. Now we all have jobs, we all work different schedules, we all have our own lives,
fiancés,
others,
wives,
all that
children.
Stuff. So now it's like, hey, 2 weeks from now on that Friday, we're all going to come together and hang out, have some pizza and hang out. And so, but again, I'm the guy now who's like scheduling out our hangouts. They're like, I can't believe I'm like having to pencil you into my calendar. I was like, you make fun of me. But of course they always, after it's all said and done, like, thank you for doing that, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have this opportunity.
Well, that's one of the things.
The same thing for gaming.
Yeah, when we had a clan or something like that, my brother and I, we always kind of were the leaders in whatever game we were on. And we never really wanted the kids playing it. Right. We always had working adults kind of with the same process that we had, that would understand if you can make it, can't make it. Yeah. That's why these raids you were talking about, man, these people that do that are you kidding me?
Talk about that.
I can't even watch the same TV show every week, let alone something like that.
Okay, so the clan that talk about like what you were talking about with not allowing kids in. I was like 15 at the time playing Lord of the Rings Online. My best friend's older brother and all his friends were in a kin in Lord of the Rings Online, and they were all like adults only. We don't want any kids playing with us because again, we want this to be like professional and like put together, because we're going to be structured and organized. He vouched for his brother and myself, saying, "No, trust me, these guys are good. They're not like rambunctious kids. Like, let them run a few runs with us and see how they do. And if you don't," talking to the leader of the group of the whole kin of like almost 100 people, being like, if you are impressed with them, let them join in and let them like give them like a grace period, like a little what is it called whenever you're not like a probation period. And if they do well, then invite them in. But just let them run with us and see how it goes. And I mean, I have never felt. This was like the first like job interview scenario where I had to prove myself. So he didn't tell me this. Right. So he was like, my best friend and I all hopped into this group with the leader and everyone else, and it felt really kind of big and important, and like it was a really big deal. We ran the run, everything went good. It was probably better part of an hour or so. And after it was all said and done, the leader, he sat there in the group with us, and he was like, again, I didn't know what this was all about. I didn't. This was like our trial period. So he was like, "Okay, yeah, you guys make the cut. You guys can go ahead and we'll put you on the group as like a probation period, and that's how this whole thing will kind of work out." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know what this was." The leader left the group. My best friend's older brother is sitting there and was like, "That was a really good run. You really proved yourself really well," because that's what that was. You're proving yourself to the big guy, and you did a great job, and you really handled yourself well. It wasn't like you didn't act like a kid, which there's a lot of people in that game that were childish. But anyways, I at that time I was like, oh, wipe the sweat from my brow. Now I didn't know it was so stressful. But anyways,
back in the day when my little brother was in the service and I was running around here, there was a text-based game that we loved. It was a military game. It was called DEFCON 5.
I think I've heard of that, yeah.
It was one of the greatest games ever, but you didn't see all of this stuff. All you saw was text-based. You did research. You spent money. You built soldiers. You built tanks. You built, certain armaments did great against other armaments and were weak against this, and you just built these massive armies. And then clans would fight each other. But the Europeans always seemed to have an advantage because the guy who designed the game was from Europe. And so what we did was in our clan, everybody had everybody's phone number, and this was across the world. And we had half of our clan was from America, and half of the clan was from Europe.
Wow.
And so whenever we got
cool.
attacked, we would text each other at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And say, get up, they're attacking us. Or we would plan wars if we knew it was a certain time. And so it was this huge, drawn-out thing.
Oh, that's involved.
It was very involved for just a simple little text-based game. But it was, it was bragging rights.
Yeah.
When you won, it was bragging rights.
Well, and so to kind of round out the back half of that story is like, as I got involved, I realized that they were really impressed by my friends and I in our like dynamic duo that we used to have. We used to work really well together, and especially in the group as a whole. And you guys are talking about how did you do raids and stuff? We used to have Sunday run day. And it was like we would.
You've mentioned that before. I remember you saying that.
Sunday run day.
It was like it would say like we're gonna do a run of this raid, or like we're gonna do a run of this. Like so, it's like that's kind of how it was. The terminology it was like let's go ahead and run. Whatever it's called. The funny thing is that they would have like names, and they would be like abbreviated. So like they would be like I can't remember some of the names of them before, but like for instance, let's just say like if it's like the cave or whatever, it's gonna be TC. So let's go ahead and do a run of TC like this afternoon. How does that sound, everybody? And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's like how it would go. So we'd have Sunday run day, and we would all come together like after lunchtime or whatever, and we would like do like the group content that like everyone needed like the best stuff for. And so we'd always like schedule those out, make sure that everyone's there. We'd all hop into a group together, chat, kind of catch up for a minute. And then of course, usually, so we would have raids of 12 people, 2 groups of 6. And each one would be designated like a leader. A lot of times the leader was like some sort of support character. So I usually always got put on like B side, like the other team as like main healer guy. It was like, just keep your guys together, keep them alive, and if worse comes to worse, you come this way. And there's a lot of just that kind of stuff, communicating between the 2 groups. If
so you would just run around to all your team and heal them up, and
so a lot of times like there's also it's a little more complex than that. There's like a lot of like buffs, and like I could also like increase like your damage output and stuff, like all these other like little bitty quirks that like you can pop off at a certain time, and like it's like it is really like a juggle.
It's insane how complicated
because
it is.
A lot of times if you'd have out of 6, you may have like 3 damage people, a really good tank, and a really good healer, and it's really surprising how like if you have a good tank, you really just got to focus on him. But if the team gets a little squirrely, it may be harder to deal with. And there was like some pretty like funny instances where like the run just didn't go the way we thought it would, and people started dying like left and right, and you can't really revive them until combat's over. And so there was a couple of times where we would call it kiting. So I'm like running around with the boss just chasing me because, again, I have all the aggro. So I'm like running around just healing people. And then like I think we have a handful of people left. And like there was like some really clutch moments. I could just like, there's so many stories like I don't want to like bore you all right now with, but it's like there's so many interesting team building moments that I can think of right now where it's like you really got to problem solve in the moment, where it's like, shit's going sideways and how are we going to fix this kind of thing. And so there was a lot of times where just kind of make do with what you got.
Do you miss those days?
A little bit, yeah, because it's not the same. People don't all come together like on one game.
Gaming has changed
a lot. So
gaming, if I may, when I first started with Counter-Strike, it was pure skill, just pure skill. Everybody specialized in, submachine gun or sniper rifle or something like that. But now some of the games that have come out, people can take advantage of certain things to get add-ons. I forgot what one of these other games was, but these kids would have 2 computers and 2 copies of the game. And instead of just going out there and getting the skill, they would pop on the same map, run around, kill the other one, run around, kill the other one. And they would build their skill points up and get better equipment to where when they got in an actual game, they were so much better just because of the equipment.
Right.
And that is cheating to me, and cheating, that's something my brother and I never really could do. We would go on a Friday or Saturday night and play Counter-Strike, and we would keep score on who got banned the most because they thought we were cheating, because we didn't cheat. That was one of the things that him and I agreed on from the very, very beginning. We weren't doing aim bots. We weren't doing this stuff like that. We just wanted the pure skill of it. Well, now there's no real skill in gaming. There's always some add-on. There's always something that you can do to assist you to play. And it's just, that's not the same. It's not the old school way.
Especially in competitive stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just, like, again, the whole MMO crowd is a different beast entirely. So it's nothing like what it was whenever I think I started off on it.
Is it the age too? Because people look at me funny and tilt their head to the side and go, "You game? You gamed? Wait, what?"
Right.
No, I used to be real good at it at one time.
Yeah.
But you're like old. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, hey.
I was there when it started.
What does age have to do with it?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I think that's just more of a societal type thing.
Right. It does feel weird though. Like now looking back on it, it's like it is like I was part of something like that's just not the same anymore. Now again, the thing is like I say that, but I also may be in the wrong crowd. So I could probably find a crowd of people that actually do play raids still and do have fun and that kind of stuff. So I may be looking in the wrong place. So there probably is people out there, but it definitely isn't like what.
I'm not looking for it anymore.
Yeah, I used to hop on.
I'm just more of a first person. I just kind of like to sit in front of my computer and kind of dive into an open world and explore it.
There's a new, I don't want to say newer game called Destiny 2. It's a first-person shooter game.
I've read about that.
It's you got to be careful with it because it'll suck up a lot of your time. It's just how it works.
Is it a multiplayer?
Mm-hmm. It's very akin to an MMORPG or an MMO. So it's you and a lot of other players from around the world, but it works a lot like how the old MMOs used to work, where like we all come together as a team and we do like this run of something. They have raids in that game, and they're very intense and very like strategic in a certain way. And I have tried my hand at a handful of those with some friends, and it has given me that same kind of that feeling that it used to back in the day. So I have like a handful of friends of mine that actually play the game and love it. And I was like, this is my chance. So like I was like, okay, I'm gonna be the leader in this moment. I was like, okay, I'm the support guy. I'll heal you guys. I got you guys all sorted out. What if we all come together and do a raid? And they're like, we've never done one before. And I was like, well, this is our chance. And I was like, this is what's gonna happen. So I started doing research on the raids, all the different checks and all the different, you name it, on all the stop gaps and the things that all happen or whatever. And we did our first raid in that game called the Vault of Glass. That's what it's called. Or they call it VOG for short. Anyway, so we played through it, and it actually went really well. And everyone was like, that was actually so much fun. I was like, yeah. And it gave me that same sort of that sensation that I had before, whereas like, again, it's all like, you have this job, you do this job and do it well. Because if you don't, like the whole team's going to suffer, or if you do it well, we're all going to benefit from it. So it's like we all like, you go here, you go here, you go here. And now, okay, let's go all split up, do our thing. And of course, it's all these like different stuff like that. Or like in a big boss fight, we're all getting just like nailed real hard. It's always nice to like, everyone come on me. And of course, like I heal all of them or whatever.
That's too much work. That's just too much work.
That's really involved.
And I'm like, I tell Miranda, I say, baby, I'm going to go do something mindless for a little while. I don't want to think.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do it. I just want to go get into the game, lose myself for a couple of minutes.
And trust me when I say, like, the game can be mindless. You can just go run around, shoot some enemies, have some fun. Like, the raid content is, like, the big stuff that everyone's kind of scared of. But, of course, because of my my background, I was like, oh, this is just a challenge for me. I'm like, it's exactly what I want out of this kind of game. So again, like I said, I don't like that all the time. I'm talking about if I have a Saturday to not do anything and I really want to like play a game like that, that's the kind of stuff I think would be really cool. But on like a Monday where I'm like, let's just go ahead and do something mindless for a little bit, that's definitely not what I'm going to jump into. That's maybe when I was in high school, but like definitely not now. I'm like, that's too much.
All right. Anybody else got anything they want to throw in there? I have gumbo cooking, so I'm going to have to run here in a minute. My gumbo is on low.
I love it.
And I took that turkey carcass and some sausage, and I've been cooking.
Let's say.
I mean, Stoney, you're getting me hungry. I mean,
I know.
Gotta come over to your house and eat.
Sure.
Give me a bowl to go. Take it to the house.
Right. I was gonna say, is there anything that we should play together? Is there anything we should all hop in? I do think Civ 5 would be really fun.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool to play. I think for all of us.
Yeah, we all do that one day.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Okay, well, for anybody out there who's looking for a place to share any kind of topics for us to talk about, or you want to reach out to us in any other way, you can type in facebook.com/retrospectpod and reach out to us there, or you can just type in Linktree /retrospectpod as well and go listen to all the different platforms we're on, or find out other ways to get in contact with us. But anyways, until next time, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. God bless.
Peace.